why they be talking about me. Lying and deceit going against me. I'm too 100.
Gucci Man, he's doing a bird band hand rub right now because he just authorized a new Pooh Shiesty album to be released, while Pooh Shiesty himself can't get a release.
Pooh Shiesty's mother just went off on Gucci Mane over the release of her son's album. And what started as a mother publicly defending her son has now pulled attention towards something much bigger. We're talking about a federal criminal case, serious allegations surrounding an alleged confrontation, a bitter contract dispute, and now a brand new project landing right in the middle of the controversy, while Pooh Shiesty remains in federal custody and has limited ability to publicly address what is being said. The label that helped push his career into the spotlight is now caught in the middle of the conflict. A relationship that once looked like a major opportunity is being questioned through family accusations, legal allegations, and a bigger conversation about who benefits when an artist's music continues making moves while that artist cannot personally promote it or control the narrative. And the deeper you get into this situation, the messier the business side becomes. Today, we're breaking down the story surrounding Pooh Shiesty, Gucci Mane, 1017 Records, and why the release of All Eyes on Shiesty has Pooh Shiesty's mother publicly calling out the label boss who helped introduce her son to a much bigger audience. We're also getting into the wider family angle surrounding this situation, because this controversy has grown beyond the two artists whose names are getting most of the attention. To understand why Gladys Baines is so fired up, you first have to understand who her son is and how he ended up doing business with Gucci Mane. Pooh Shiesty came out of Memphis, Tennessee, a city with a rap scene known for its dark production, raw delivery, and hard-edged storytelling. Pooh brought his own version of that Memphis sound, and when Gucci Mane's 1017 Records brought him into the fold, that local momentum suddenly had a much larger platform. At first, the partnership looked like a strong move for both sides. Gucci Mane was adding a rising Memphis rapper with serious momentum to the 1017 roster, while Pooh Shiesty was getting access to the label infrastructure, promotion, distribution, resources, and industry connections that can take independent artists years to build. And for a while, things appeared to click. Songs like Twerk Some helped push Pooh Shiesty further into the mainstream, and he quickly became one of the most recognizable artists associated with the 1017 brand. His records were moving, his name was buzzing, and Gucci Mane had another artist bringing major attention to the label. From the outside, it looked like the classic music industry success story. A hungry young rapper links with an established artist and label boss who has enough reach to take that talent nationwide.
That's why they be talking about me. Lying and deceit going against me. I'm too 100 on a whole nother level though. Now switch. I'll be zero.
But according to claims made by Gladys Baines, what was happening behind the scenes did not feel nearly as successful to her family. Pooh Shiesty's mother has argued publicly that while her son was building his name, recording music, and bringing value to 1017, the business arrangement was not giving him what she believed he deserved. She has suggested that his music was generating serious value, while he felt stuck inside a deal that gave him too little control over his career. That distinction matters. Those are claims and opinions attributed to his mother, not established findings about the private financial terms of Pooh Shiesty's recording agreement. The complete contract and accounting records have not been publicly established in a way that allows outsiders to independently confirm every accusation being made. Still, the picture Baines has painted is clear. She believes her son became increasingly frustrated with his business situation and wanted greater control over his career. In her telling, he felt boxed in by an arrangement he believed was no longer working for him. And this is where the story takes a much more serious turn. Federal authorities have made allegations concerning conduct connected to Pooh Shiesty, and any description of an alleged confrontation involving Gucci Mane needs to be treated exactly as that. An allegation unless and until it is established through reliable court records or proven in court. Claims involving firearms, robbery, coercion, large amounts of cash or jewelry, or attempts to force changes to a recording contract are extremely serious and should not be presented as proven facts simply because they are circulating online. That includes claims that an alleged confrontation involved paperwork connected to Pooh Shiesty's 1017 agreement, as well as claims about hundreds of thousands of dollars in property. Where those details appear in accusations or reports, they remain allegations unless supported by verified court findings. Pooh Shiesty is entitled to the presumption of innocence on any unresolved criminal accusations, and the government carries the burden of proving its case. That part cannot get lost just because the story surrounding the music business is dramatic. But Gladys Bain's anger appears to go beyond the criminal allegations themselves. She has publicly framed the situation as a betrayal involving people her son once did business with. From her perspective, this was not simply an artist-label disagreement anymore. She believes a relationship that was supposed to help build her son's career eventually became connected to circumstances that damaged his freedom and left him unable to defend his side publicly. There has also been heavy discussion online about whether Gucci Mane communicated with law enforcement and what role, if any, that communication played. But there is a big difference between online commentary, family accusations, witness cooperation, and facts formally established in court. Those details should not be mashed together like they are automatically the same thing. And culturally, that distinction has not stopped people from debating the situation. Hip-hop has a long and complicated history with law enforcement, so accusations that somebody cooperated with authorities can trigger a huge reaction. Baines has leaned into that tension when discussing what she believes happened to her son. To her, the issue is personal and tied directly to loyalty. But internet opinions about what someone should do are not the same as legal evidence, and contacting authorities does not by itself establish wrongdoing. Federal cases can also be built through many different kinds of evidence, including surveillance footage, phone records, digital communications, physical evidence, and witness testimony. Prosecutors do not necessarily depend on one alleged victim or witness to keep a case moving. What matters for this part of the story is that Pooh Shiesty's legal circumstances have dramatically limited his ability to operate like an active artist. He cannot simply move around freely, hit every interview, promote records normally, respond instantly to accusations, or personally control every conversation happening around his name. And that is exactly why the music release became such a pressure point. While Pooh Shiesty remained in federal custody, music connected to him continued being released commercially. The project All Eyes on Shiesty landed with his name front and center, bringing the business relationships surrounding his catalog right back into the spotlight. For Gladys Baines, that was apparently enough to set things off all over again. From her point of view, there is a brutal contradiction here. She says her son had serious problems with the business arrangements surrounding his career, yet music connected to that same business structure can still be packaged, distributed, streamed, and monetized while he is unable to participate in the rollout the way a free artist normally could. That is the heart of her accusation against Gucci Mane and the label operation. She believes people connected to the business can continue benefiting financially from Pooh Shiesty's name and recordings, while her son has far less power to control what happens with his own career. Again, that does not automatically prove that Gucci Mane personally controls every decision or receives every dollar connected to a Pooh Shiesty release. Record label finances can involve multiple companies, distributors, publishers, producers, contractual obligations, royalty splits, and recoupment terms. Without the underlying contracts and accounting statements, outsiders cannot responsibly claim to know exactly where every dollar ends up. But you can see why the optics have people talking. On one side is an artist whose family says he desperately wanted greater control over his business situation. On the other is music continuing to move commercially while that same artist is behind bars. Whether you agree with his mother or not, that contrast gives her argument serious emotional weight. And this is where understanding record deals becomes important, because seeing millions of streams does not mean an artist simply receives a giant check. Traditional label deals can include an advance, but an advance is generally recoupable under the terms of the agreement. That means certain label-funded costs can be recovered from the artist's royalty account before the artist begins receiving additional royalty payments. Depending on the contract, recording costs, video budgets, marketing expenses, and other charges may also affect what ultimately reaches the artist. Labels and distributors can also receive portions of recorded music revenue, while publishing operates through its own rights and splits. Producers, featured artists, songwriters, managers, and other parties can have separate financial interests too. So a project can generate significant revenue without the headline artist personally pocketing anything close to the gross amount people imagine from looking at streaming numbers. That business structure is a huge part of why Gladys Bain's accusations are hitting so hard. Her argument, in simple terms, is that she believes the system was already working against her son when he had his freedom and could actively fight over his career. Now, with his freedom restricted, she believes that imbalance has become even worse. Every stream, download, licensing opportunity, and dollar connected to All Eyes on Shiesty potentially travels through layers of contracts and business relationships that the public cannot fully see. And if Pooh Shiesty really was unhappy with those arrangements before his legal problems intensified, his current situation raises an obvious question. How much power does he actually have over the music being released under his name right now? The lead single, Last Man Breathing, has already started pulling attention, and the timing makes this release impossible to separate from everything happening around Pooh Shiesty. This is not landing like some regular album rollout. His mother, Gladys Baines, is making sure people look at the bigger picture instead of simply seeing a new song, hitting play, and scrolling to the next headline. Right now, she has become one of the loudest public voices, pushing her son's side of the story because Pooh Shiesty's legal circumstances limit what he can personally say and do. His attorneys have their own legal strategy and cannot necessarily respond to every rumor online. Industry figures protect their business relationships, and record companies rarely open their books for the internet to inspect. That has given Baines plenty of room to publicly explain what she believes happened behind the scenes. And she has not been moving quietly. Gucci Mane's family has also been mentioned in the wider public conversation, showing just how personal this situation has become. But claims involving relatives on either side should be treated carefully, unless those people have directly made statements themselves. What is clear is that Baines has turned the dispute into something much more emotional than a standard argument over contracts and royalties. That approach connects with people because she is speaking as a mother worried about her son rather than as some corporate spokesperson reading legal language. She is telling the story through what she says she witnessed: her son becoming successful, growing frustrated with his business arrangement, facing serious federal allegations, losing his freedom, and then seeing music released under his name, while he has far less ability to control the conversation around it. But there is an important line here. Saying Pooh Shiesty allegedly took drastic or illegal action because he was desperate would assign a motive that has not necessarily been proven. Contract frustration and criminal allegations can exist in the same story without one automatically explaining or excusing the other. What makes Gucci Mane's place in this whole situation especially complicated is that his role in Pooh Shiesty's rise was significant. The 1017 platform was real. The exposure was real. Pooh Shiesty's own talent and momentum drove his success. But being connected with Gucci Mane and 1017 also gave him access to a much bigger industry machine. That is what makes the fallout hit differently. Baines' argument is basically that the same business relationship that helped elevate her son eventually became a relationship he no longer believed was working in his favor. She has accused people around that structure of continuing to benefit from Pooh Shiesty's music while he is unable to operate normally as an artist. Some of her strongest claims go further, including accusations about Gucci Mane's alleged involvement with authorities and his supposed financial benefit from Pooh Shiesty's current circumstances. Those claims should not be confused with proven court findings. Without verified documentation showing exactly who contacted whom, why they did it, and how money from the new project is divided, those details remain disputed or unconfirmed. Still, that has not stopped social media from choosing sides. One group sees Gladys Baines as a mother doing everything she can to keep her son's perspective alive while he cannot easily speak for himself. To those supporters, the album release looks suspicious because they see music continuing to generate business while Pooh Shiesty is dealing with serious restrictions on his freedom. For them, All Eyes on Shiesty has become Exhibit A in the bigger argument over ownership and control. Then you have another group saying contract frustration cannot justify alleged violence, threats, robbery, or the use of a firearm. Their position is simple. Even if an artist believes a record deal is unfair, that does not make alleged criminal conduct acceptable. And because the underlying criminal allegations have not all been established as facts, merely by being reported, Pooh Shiesty still deserves the same presumption of innocence afforded to any defendant facing unresolved charges. Those two conversations are colliding hard. The release of All Eyes on Shiesty has made it even harder to discuss the music without discussing everything surrounding it. Instead of listeners simply debating songs, features, production, and numbers, people are talking about the contract dispute, federal allegations, Baines' accusations, Pooh Shiesty's legal situation, and questions about who controls the music. That is exactly why her public campaign has been so effective at changing the conversation. She has made the business story almost impossible to separate from the album itself. The biggest irony she wants listeners to notice is brutal. According to her version of events, her son wanted more control over his career and wanted to escape a business arrangement he believed was holding him back. Now, because of his legal situation, he has considerably less ability to control his career, public image, or music rollout than before. But again, there is a major difference between that irony and claiming that Gucci Mane intentionally engineered the outcome. Baines may believe he played a central role in what happened, but responsibility for federal charges is ultimately determined through evidence, legal proceedings, and the courts, not through accusations made during a heated public dispute. And then there is Gucci Mane's public response, or more specifically, the lack of a detailed public back and forth. Gucci has not made this situation into a non-stop press tour where he answers every accusation Baines throws his way. He has not publicly walked listeners through every provision of Pooh Shiesty's contract or provided a full accounting of how revenue connected to All Eyes on Shiesty is distributed. That silence leaves a giant empty space online. Baines has been filling that space with her own interpretation of events. But silence should not automatically be treated as an admission. There could be legal, contractual, strategic, or personal reasons somebody involved in an active dispute chooses not to publicly respond, especially when serious criminal allegations are involved. The internet does not always wait for those distinctions, though. When one side is talking constantly and another side is mostly quiet, the loudest version can quickly become the version people remember. There is another layer here that makes the debate even more complicated: Gucci Mane's own history with incarceration and the criminal justice system. Gucci went through major legal problems earlier in his career, served time, returned to music, rebuilt his career, and eventually strengthened his position as a businessman and label figure. That history is part of why some people find the current accusations so striking. Baines' framing suggests that someone who personally experienced incarceration should understand what it means for an artist to lose freedom and control. She has used that contrast to sharpen her criticism of how she believes Pooh Shiesty was treated. But Gucci Mane's past does not automatically tell us what happened in this case either. Experiencing the criminal justice system does not create an obligation to ignore alleged criminal conduct, nor does it prove that Gucci used law enforcement as some calculated business weapon. Those are separate claims that require separate evidence. Still, as a cultural argument, the contrast hits hard because Gucci's transformation from rapper dealing with his own legal troubles into established label boss is already a major part of his public story. And now that transformation is being viewed through a completely different lens. Then there is the damage this entire situation could do to Pooh Shiesty's reputation in real time. Court proceedings move according to legal schedules, but hip-hop culture does not wait around for a final ruling. Social media debates happen every hour. Clips spread. Allegations become headlines. People pick teams before they have even seen the underlying evidence. Meanwhile, Pooh Shiesty's music is still out there carrying his name, voice, image, and artistry. All Eyes on Shiesty enters the world surrounded by controversy instead of a normal promotional campaign. New listeners searching for the project can quickly run into stories involving federal allegations, contract disputes, family accusations, and claims about an alleged confrontation. That creates a strange situation for any artist. Instead of being able to sit down for interviews and explain where his head was while recording certain tracks, Pooh Shiesty has limited control over how the public frames the project. He cannot easily jump online and correct every rumor, challenge every interpretation, or personally steer every conversation surrounding his name. For Gladys Baines, that appears to be about more than royalties. It is also about control of her son's identity and story. His music is moving through the world while other people, family members, commentators, attorneys, label figures, fans, critics, and prosecutors, have enormous influence over how the public understands him. That brings the conversation right back to 1017. Gucci Mane did not simply associate Pooh Shiesty with a record company. Pooh became part of a recognizable label brand with its own image, audience, and place inside modern hip-hop. When Pooh's songs grew, his success also brought more attention to the 1017 name. That relationship worked both ways. The label's platform helped amplify Pooh Shiesty, while Pooh Shiesty's breakout success strengthened the visibility of the label. His streams, videos, viral moments, and growing fan base did not exist in some separate universe from 1017. They became part of the brand's momentum. And according to Baines, that is where the money question gets especially serious. Her position is that her son contributed major value to the 1017 operation, but did not receive the level of control or financial benefit she believes that contribution deserved. That remains her characterization unless the actual contractual and accounting records prove otherwise. So when All Eyes on Shiesty drops with an established label and distribution structure operating behind it, Baines does not see only another Pooh Shiesty project. She sees the same machine she has been criticizing continuing to function, while her son has far less ability to challenge it. And that leaves one massive question hanging over this whole controversy. When an artist's freedom is restricted but his catalog keeps generating streams, attention, and money, who actually holds the power over what happens next? Let's get into what federal custody can actually mean for an artist in practical terms, because saying somebody is locked up barely explains the reality. For a working rapper, losing freedom can affect almost every part of the career that fans normally never see. When an artist is in federal custody, communication with the outside world can be heavily restricted and controlled. That does not automatically mean Pooh Shiesty has zero contact with his lawyers, family, management, or business representatives, but communication is obviously nothing like being free and able to walk into a meeting, call whoever you want, or personally oversee every move. That can make managing an active music career incredibly complicated. Depending on the legal and contractual setup, decisions involving songs, artwork, promotion, videos, licensing, and catalog management may still move through managers, attorneys, label representatives, or other authorized people. But Pooh Shiesty cannot operate with the same freedom an artist on the outside would have. Every conversation becomes harder, every decision can take longer, and his ability to immediately jump online and challenge something happening around his name is severely limited. Gladys Baines is watching that situation unfold while publicly arguing that the business machine surrounding her son's music keeps moving. From her perspective, that is what makes the whole situation so frustrating. She believes her son already had serious problems with the business relationships surrounding his career, and now his legal circumstances have reduced his ability to publicly push back even further. That does not necessarily mean every decision is being made without Pooh Shiesty's knowledge or permission. Without seeing the actual contracts, authorizations, and communications between his representatives and the companies involved, nobody on the outside can know that for sure. But there is no question that being in custody changes how much direct, day-to-day control an artist can exercise. Then you have the lead single, Last Man Breathing, and even that title has people talking. Considering everything surrounding Pooh Shiesty right now, some listeners have said the title feels heavier than it normally would. But we should not pretend we know exactly why that title was selected or claim it was designed to exploit the controversy unless there is evidence showing that. It could have been chosen because of the song itself. It could reflect Pooh Shiesty's creative mindset when the record was made, or it could simply be one of those titles that takes on a completely different meaning because of what happened afterward. Either way, the timing has made people pay attention. Last Man Breathing is not arriving in a quiet moment. It is arriving while Pooh Shiesty's legal situation, his mother's accusations, questions surrounding 1017, and arguments about artist control are all being discussed at the same time. That surrounding noise changes the way people hear the music, whether the people behind the release intended that or not. And Gladys Baines has made sure her interpretation of what happened is part of that conversation. Her public criticism has also pushed this story into a much bigger debate that hip-hop has been having for decades. Who really holds the power when an artist signs a record deal? This is bigger than one rapper and one label boss. Artists across different generations have complained about signing contracts early in their careers without fully appreciating what those agreements could mean years later. Advances can sound life-changing when an artist is still trying to make it, but contracts can also include complicated terms involving ownership, royalties, recoupment, options, distribution, and control over recordings. And once serious money starts moving, those details become everything. That does not mean every label deal is automatically exploitative, and it does not mean every artist who becomes unhappy with a contract was tricked. Artists can have attorneys and representatives helping negotiate agreements, and labels can take significant financial risks developing and promoting talent. Every contract has to be judged on its actual terms, But the power imbalance can still be real, especially when a young artist is negotiating with an established company that has money, lawyers, industry connections, and years of experience. That is why the accusations from Pooh Shiesty's mother have connected with a wider conversation. Gladys Baines is not talking about artist rights like some professor giving a lecture. She is talking about her son. She believes Pooh Shiesty contributed serious value to the 1017 brand while becoming increasingly unhappy with the arrangements surrounding his career. Those are her claims, and they should remain clearly identified as her claims unless documentation proves them. But because she is naming specific people and connecting her criticism to a real album rollout happening while her son's freedom is restricted, the story has hit much harder than a general debate about record contracts. At the same time, none of this should blur the line between a business dispute and the criminal allegations surrounding Pooh Shiesty. Feeling trapped in a contract does not justify alleged threats, robbery, coercion, or firearm-related conduct. And accusations of those acts are not automatically facts just because they appear in headlines. The evidence has to be tested through the legal process, and Pooh Shiesty retains the presumption of innocence regarding unresolved allegations. That distinction matters because social media has a habit of turning complicated cases into two-team battles overnight. One side sees an artist they believe was exploited. Another side focuses on the seriousness of the allegations. But both things need to be examined separately. A contract can be disputed without proving criminal conduct, and criminal allegations can be investigated without proving that every accusation made about the underlying business relationship is true. Eventually, the courts will determine the criminal questions properly before them. Evidence can be presented, challenged, and tested, and the defense gets its opportunity to dispute the government's case. Until then, nobody watching from social media has the complete file. But regardless of how the legal case ultimately develops, the questions surrounding artist control are not disappearing. Who controls unreleased recordings when an artist cannot actively participate in their career? Who has authority to approve releases? How are royalties divided? Which expenses are recoupable? Who owns the masters? What rights does the artist retain? And how much power does a label have when the relationship between the two sides completely falls apart? Those questions are bigger than Pooh Shiesty and 1017. And that might be the most important part of this whole story. Because behind the viral accusations and social media arguments is a basic reality of the music business. Talent and ownership are not necessarily the same thing. An artist can create the sound, build the fan base, and become the face people recognize, while contracts determine who can commercially exploit particular recordings and how the resulting money gets divided. That is why knowing what you sign matters. For young artists watching situations like this unfold, the lesson should not be that every label is the enemy or that every contract is a trap. The lesson is to understand the paperwork, get qualified independent legal advice, know what rights you are giving away, understand how recoupment works, and never wait until the relationship has completely broken down before asking questions. Because once millions of streams, major companies, lawyers, and serious money enter the picture, a handshake and good relationship are not enough. As for Gladys Baines, she has made her position loud and clear. She believes her son's story is not simply about criminal allegations. She believes there is a deeper business story involving control, money, loyalty, and the relationship between Pooh Shiesty and 1017. Gucci Mane and others involved may see that story very differently, and without complete contracts, financial records, and verified evidence, the public should be careful about treating either side's interpretation as the entire truth. But one thing is undeniable. All Eyes on Shiesty is no longer being discussed like an ordinary album. The music is tied to questions about Pooh Shiesty's legal situation, his business relationship, his mother's accusations, and what happens to an artist's career when that artist cannot freely control the conversation around his own name. And now we want to know where you stand. Do you think releasing Pooh Shiesty's music while he is in federal custody raises legitimate questions about artist control? Do you think Gladys Baines is bringing attention to a real problem in the music business? Or do you think people need to wait for more verified evidence before judging Gucci Mane and 1017? And when more facts from the legal process become public, could they completely change how people look at this entire situation? Drop your take in the comments, but keep it respectful because there are serious allegations involved and plenty of details remain disputed. If you made it all the way to the end, hit that like button and subscribe to FameZar for more hip-hop stories, industry drama, and deep breakdowns that separate the accusations from what can actually be established. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the next story, and check out the video on screen because this conversation is far from finished.